Hello, I am a moderator, joined by Wingnut Cross here. No longer being ECM'd IRL, we have a excellent match for you. We have triple Sleipnir autocannon fit with the Flag Nightmare, two Kirins, double Rocket Jackdaw, and Raptor and Garmer for tackle.
Yep, meanwhile on the other side we have the triple Paladin, Pontifex, double Thalia, Sunesis, double Hound, Crucifier. So we got the Palia Blob versus the traditional Shield Rush. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this goes.
Yeah, if you're in a paladin, you kind of are just kind of the better version of kind of these APOC navies that we've seen. But Sleipnirs infamously are very comfortable with getting hit by the EM and thermal that we will see from these paladins. Already, we're seeing that the Sleipnirs are starting to kind of pace themselves around the paladins. They're trying to burn around what those newts might be. Gucci Uzi taking some projection from these paladins, pretty expected. Meanwhile, Hound taking basically chip damage from a combination of what looks like barrage from the Sleipnirs and a little bit of drone damage.
They were kind of expecting to rush in, but they are definitely playing it safe for now, playing for time. Going to try and maybe get around the back, but I don't think it's going to really help at the moment. They're just trying to find the right position. We see Sten Matson being hit by, assuming the Paladins, of course.
Yeah, so Faffy Waffy is basically in the center of the arena, and we can see that the Garmer of Grunt is trying to burn around, to get above him, and go onto the back line, maybe pick off one of these Thalias or some other ship. The Sleipnirs are just sort of burning around, not wanting to really have to be forced into the Paladin and kind of any sort of utility that he might have. Both teams just kind of jockeying for position, which is what you really should be doing at this stage of the tournament if you're in a rush setup. But you can't lose Gucci Uzi, who's already into pretty low shield. We'll see, he is currently in range of the Kirins, but
Slap.
he's just taking too much damage from these paladins that are projecting.
Exactly. Like, yes, you want to play for time and get the right position, but if you wait too long, you're versing ships that love you at this distance. Like they are exactly where the paladins would like them to. Please just stay there for us. As the second jackdaw is now being shot straight down to about one third shield, and is being hit even harder now.
Yeah, I mean, Karen, we do see Karen or Kazan swap into defensive to try to sustain against that and pulling range against Paladins to try to get out of whatever, ammo they're shooting. But I mean, that's the thing about Paladins is they're very happy to just hit you at range. That is quite literally what they do, and they do it very well. If you're in the position of localist primary, you need to find a way to close and get on something because your core is being picked apart at this point. You can't lose those rocket daws that are very good at killing Thalias, very good at killing hounds. Well, hounds are happy to just keep pumping their torpedo damage into a Sleipnir or Nightmare.
Notice, of course, that the paladins have put a bit of distance between each other. They're not bunched up within a kilometer. They're about maybe 5 to 10k from each other. So once one gets tackled and primaried, the other guys are in the right position to then engage whoever is tackling him. So they're actually pretty much set up for this rush, but this rush is still taking its time. And honestly, I feel like they're just waiting too long at this point. I've seen a few boosts
Yeah,
from
so
from Sten in the Sleipnir. That's wasted boosts.
what they're doing right now is they're beating Faffy Waffy, and man, they needed to commit. They're still trying to burn around, and Faffy Waffy is now zoning them out. They had a chance about 30 seconds ago to make a snap call and go onto the back line, but man, Damascus, Kadesh, and Sten are just like you're saying. They're having to use ASB charges to keep themselves sustained, and I mean, you cannot stay at range for all of 4 minutes in a rush comp against paladins. They will eventually chew through you.
Like those boost charges are like your rush tank. Like that, they're your time to do massive DPS. And at the moment, they're just like pissing into the wind and doing absolutely nothing. See, Damascus Kadesh actually getting pounded again by these paladins. Like there's a lot of damage being put down on them.
Yeah, so Damascus Kadesh is getting a little bit outside of the range of the Kirins, but finally we see on the backline, the Nightmare has finally made a snap call, getting into the backline, is neuting out Thalias right now. So now that Farron is probably capped out, we see that the webs are getting onto Nico Russ. Once the Sleipnirs can break through the Thalia of Rico, they're going to do a lot, but Damascus is still just taking a lot of chip damage and needs to get some sustain from the Kirins. Thalia just dropped. Okay, so that will be a lot of rep power off the field. Once they kill the Thalia of Fernscored, they can work their way through the Hounds, work their way through the Crucifier, get rid of the tracking disruption that's hitting you, get rid of those explosive torpedoes that are very effective against the resist of the Sleipnir.
Exactly that. They can start pulling apart the small side, get rid of this crucifier, which is also hurting their tracking, probably driving these guys absolutely insane. And they can theoretically like pull this team apart, but again, like I feel like they're still taking a while to do this. But Demes is sitting on a pretty
Yes.
high shield, so maybe he's got time to like pull away and then maybe reload.
Yeah, so shooting Damascus is kind of bait, being a nightmare, he can burn away from things very well. So we see one of the hounds got scrammed and webbed by the Garmer and Raptor, and these Garmer and Raptors are just zooming, not getting interfered with at all, picking up things in the back line, and then once they do that, the Sleipnirs are just pounding into it and systematically taking them apart. I'm really liking this recovery from Local's primary. They initially looked shaky, but they did identify their win condition and are starting to execute finally.
Yep, at some point they're going to have to charge in, I think, to go after these paladins. But at the moment they're pretty happy to remove all the backline stuff. They've got this hound in low armor. They've got this Pontifex in hull. They're about to lose their links soon. So yeah, pop,
Yeah,
pop, both at the same time. So they are slowly pulling this team apart. They might be able to pull this back.
Yeah, so Grunt managed to get himself on, kind of that bonus range scram on top of, the Hound and the Crucifier, and now they picked up the Pontifex as well. So Paladins aren't going to have any sort of links, and now we can see that the locals primary team has recognized the trigger. Once they've killed up all the links, they're happy to chew through Faffy Wappy, realizing that without um, having killed those links, it would be difficult given the self tank of the paladin. But from here on out, I'm really liking where Localist primary is at. Um, DarkSide will have grapples and some utility newts we can see onto the Kieran. But I think at this point, all of the swipe, not the Swiples, the Sleipnirs have likely reloaded their ancillary shield boosters, and Grunt Kato is going to be the primary as he does get grappled. Um, Grunt choosing to break range, not being harassed by any sort of drones, is going to be, soaking fire for the Paladins, who would probably be rather shooting anything other than a frigate right now.
Exactly. There's a Raptor and a Gamma holding down the Paladin of Faffy Waffy. Meanwhile, his team and the other Paladins were starting to like burn away, chasing other contacts. They've finally stopped. They're just holding position now and shooting targets. So he's not being left out to dry at the moment. But his reps are going to run out soon. I was pretty sure he's got an Ansel charge, Ansel rep fitted, and he has been firing it for quite some time now.
Yeah, we don't see much in the way of any sort of armor repair bots. They've either all been killed or they just were never deployed. We do see a lot of damage drones chasing after things fairly ineffectually on the side of DarkSide going after Localist primary. And if I'm Zhaoji, you need to probably try to consider pulling range in your nightmare. Don't feed it at this point. Keep that flag nightmare, chewing through the rest of the lower bracket. At this point, the Sleipnirs alone can easily handle, these last two paladins, given Kieran support.
Nah, he's all good, mate. He's all good. He's got a bling tank on that thing. He'll be perfectly fine. First Paladin's going down. Second Paladin is now being absolutely obliterated. I mean, Sleipnirs do a massive amount of damage anyway, and these guys are all sitting at range too. They're not even brawling him. They're just sitting at optimal. Their long range ammo is just obliterating him.
Yeah, I mean, if they really wanted to, they could eventually just swap to hail and dump nearly 3,000 damage just between the
Exactly, mate.
Sleipnirs on top of that. But Zhao Yi is given that Sanchez afterburning bonus, just happily pulling range and using his very blinged out tank that he's allowed to fit as a flagship, continuing to newt and affect the tank of Skykiller, while the paladin of Agent 007 is basically been pinned down by a Garmin or Raptor for the last few minutes. Um, and that's about to be, zero ships for DarkSide as well. So local is primary, kind of executing better than we thought they were initially, pulling
Exactly.
back.
We're kind
Um,
of we're giving him trouble at the start, thinking they're playing a bit too careful, but they waited for the right moment, struck, ripped the team apart, and here they are now, only losing two jackdaws and wiping the entire squad of Darkside within a couple more minutes after that.
yeah, I mean, people often think of rush comps as, oh, there's this thing I have to bring in at zero, I have to rush, I just have to rush. Well, that's how you end up getting picked apart, and we've seen that happen to some of the not quite as good teams in the lower bracket. And while Demasis and Core might have taken a little bit too long to get in, they did eventually recognize their win condition and they are executing, showing why they've been making kind of this run through the lower bracket. I don't envy them, though, going up against Tempest, who has seemed a little bit shaky today. More on that as we send it back to the desk.